J'ai quelque chose à vous dire. Ah, j'ai été agressée chez moi.
En vrai?
Et tu vas bien?
Un piper sick. Très bien. Attendez 5 minutes avant de l'ouvrir.
Que ça rend notre version de démo quasiment injouable.
Mais le fait est, Kurt, qui ici la patronne, c'est moi. Dis-moi, Kurt, il peut vraiment pas m'encadrer ou c'est moi?
Ah oui, il te hait.
On devrait être encore ensemble. Tiens, quelqu'un t'a cabossé ton pare-choc.
Quelqu'un.
Salut. J'ai plus envie de ça, de cette situation, de ces mensonges. Tu sais que j'ai vécu une expérience très traumatisante.
Si je te parais insensible, je suis désolé.
Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Matt Atchity, that's Alonzo Duralde, that's Christy Lemire.
Hello.
We are here to talk about Paul Verhoeven's latest film, Elle. Who would like to describe
Alonzo.
it?
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah,
okay, sure. All right, well, Isabelle Huppert plays a producer of video games. She has a company in Paris. And she is, at the very opening of the film, attacked. A home invader comes in and sexually assaults her. And she does not respond in the way that one might expect. She does not call the police. She casually mentions it to her friends a couple days later. But then other things happen, and it's a Paul Verhoeven movie. That's all I'm going to say. Take a look.
Bah oui, il faut changer toutes les serrures, en haut et en bas.
Ça va, toi?
J'ai fait une chute à vélo.
Mais il y a un fou qui rôde.
Non mais les fous, j'ai l'habitude, c'est ma spécialité. C'était bon, c'était comment? Tu pirates les ordinateurs perso de tous les employés.
Et c'est grave comme infraction. Tu mets ton nez dans les affaires des autres, tu tombes sur des trucs pas nets, hein.
Je porterai aucun jugement. Vous pensez peut-être même pas vous en tirer après ce que vous m'avez fait.
Interesting that you say that she does not respond the way you might expect. Because one thing that we have learned in this age of Trump bragging about being able to grab women.
True, and Bill
whatever,
Cosby.
And Kelly Oxford started this whole Twitter thread of asking women to come forward and talk about their sexual assault experiences. And it was just this stunning avalanche of responses. And one thing that came out of that, which I think maybe surprised a lot of folks, is that there is not one way to respond to being sexually assaulted.
This is true.
As
I
far
should
as
say, we're not
when or how you acknowledge it, if you ever do acknowledge it.
I should say maybe not how we would pick a movie character,
Right, movie character,
to respond.
Right, and so yeah, so she, keeping with how no bullshit and self-sufficient Isabelle Huppert's character is, yeah, she doesn't want to talk to anybody about it, and she wants to just handle it on her own. What's fascinating, though, is the way that she internalizes the attack and the way that it then evolves within her. Of course, she replays it in her mind, as anybody would, and with, you know, the scenario changing.
How it might have gone differently, yeah.
But what is daring and what's really uncomfortable is the way in which she almost kind of invites it to happen again, and the way in which she exercises her own demons of her past and the hold that her father still has on her all these decades later through this thing that finally makes her feel something, right? That's how I interpreted it, is that she's so tough, and she should win an Oscar for this, because she's amazing, and I can very easily picture us giving our Lafka award
in a heartbeat.
to her.
I don't know who else is going to even come close to her.
Because it's just this really complicated character, and she's tough, and she can be petty and childish and really unlikable, but exceedingly capable and strong and beautiful and sophisticated. But I feel like this is. Here's how I interpret the way she welcomes the attack. Here's how I interpret it: is that it finally allows her to feel something, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. She has toughened herself to such an extreme in the aftermath of what happened with her father when she was a child that this is the way. Either A, she feels she deserves this, or B, she feels something finally, whether it's good or bad, and that's what makes her feel alive finally.
I'm
as
glad
fucked up as all that is. That's my interpretation.
I'm glad that you used the word interpret, because one of the things I really love about this movie is it does not in any way tell you what to think about any of this stuff. It really kind of leaves it to you to sort of piece through what we're told about her, what we're told about the people in her life, her relationship with her ex-husband, with her son, who's kind of a doofus, and his awful girlfriend, and you know, this is not a Verhoeven movie in the sense that if people are expecting it to be lurid, it's not. But it is in terms of being kind of very bold about exploring women's sexuality and women's sort of agency. You know, I think about a movie like Black Book or even Showgirls, frankly, I think, you know, he talks about this stuff in a way that a lot of filmmakers don't or won't. And so he really kind of leaves it to you to figure out what's Isabelle Huppert's character going through, what is she deciding, why is she deciding that? And that's what I liked about it. I liked that I've had these really great conversations about this movie, and very few people seem to have come to the same conclusions about it.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I think as we think about Paul Verhoeven, there's a tendency to kind of lump him in with somebody like De Palma, right? Which is a lurid, shocking filmmaker who's constantly over the top. And I think that, you know, like you said, that boldness and that fearlessness allows him to tell this story in a way and be, you know, kind of brave enough to not tell us what we're supposed to think and leave it up to us and tell this really complicated, really almost, you know, I almost want to say grounded story that, you know, in a different movie, you know, the assault would happen, the rape would happen, and she'd go to the cops or she'd, you know, start packing a gun or like immediately be out for revenge.
It's not a revenge thriller.
And this movie is far different from that. And, you know, there's a line where she says, you know, what's to be done? And, you know, and especially like, I think, you know, from a male perspective, you're like, what the fuck? Like, how do you not fight back, right? And, you know, yes, we know that that is a reality that women will go through depending on who they are. And this movie, I think, is, you know, I mean, is it brave to show that in a movie? Maybe. This is a real interesting movie, and it goes in directions you never quite. I love when a movie is smart about going in directions that you don't expect. And at no point did I know what was coming. This is a very unpredictable movie, and not in a way that is, you know, you can have movies that are unpredictable and you're like, oh, what the fuck is this? This one is not that film. This one is, and it's complicated and it's challenging, and
it's also really funny.
And it's funny.
I'm making it sound like it's really like intense and depressing. It's really
it
funny.
is very darkly funny. Yes.
The other thing too is you know, the arguments that they're having at the gaming production company, like those feel real. Those feel, you know, you know, if you've ever worked in an environment that has creatives, you know, juggling, like that has to juggle the idea of creativity versus business mandates, like this movie captures that kind of pressure and those conversations and those arguments. And
I think Verhoeven's been in those meetings.
Yeah, I think so too, right?
But also the content of the game sheds yet another light on how complicated she is, because she is totally willing to exploit and play up men's ideas of female sexuality and the role that they should play just for commerce, you know, for profit. And you think she'd be like a champion of women in this situation, but she's like, no, the orgasm cries aren't intense enough. Like, make the sexuality more believable. And so that's yet another facet of her that is so unpredictable and so fascinating. And
you know, you were saying about not being able to predict what's going to happen. I was watching this on a screener, and there's a point that seems like a resolution might be happening. And then I looked down, and there were still another like 50 minutes left. I was like, what else is going to happen here? You know, and so that was, this was just, it's that exciting feeling of knowing that you are watching somebody by people who know what they're doing and who are not just like going to tick off the boxes for you and hit the plot beats that you're expecting, and that just like where anything can happen, and then you don't get into that nearly enough in movies.
Yeah, I liked all of her relationships with everybody, because again, they're not easily defined.
Yeah, Anne Consigny is she's her best friend and business partner, but she's also like cheating with her husband.
Yeah,
you know?
I like the last line of the movie very much. The last shot, the last line of the movie very much, because again, it's not easily resolved. It's yet another complicated wrinkle to the situation, and I loved it. Isabelle Huppert, your best actress frontrunner as far as I'm concerned. She's really, really great. So I'm giving it a 9. What's your number?
Also giving it a 9.
Okay.
I'm giving it an 8.5. It's great.
Our number is an 8.8. It is.
Is it 93% on the tomato meter?
It's probably what it opened in New York last week, and it's
LA
this
yesterday,
week, and because it played at AFI, and it's probably going wider. It is really hard to watch. It is subtitled. Don't let any of this daunt you if you want something challenging and smart and beautifully acted.